Have you ever wondered why God doesn't just destroy the devil? Well, a lot of people have wondered that, myself included. Let's talk about that one. All right, friends, welcome to Embrace the Question. My name is Steve, and we are discussing the question, why does God not just destroy the devil? It's an age-old question. You may have asked this one yourself. Many have. Why? It just seems like a no-brainer. God being all-powerful, the devil being just another created being. Why doesn't God just snuff him out? I've heard some pretty good answers to this, actually, at least some good answers. And the one that stuck with me the longest, I believe, were, everything was breathed by God. Everything that has life was given life by God, and God is spirit. Therefore, these beings are spirit just as we are spirit. And the Spirit of God is eternal and cannot be destroyed. Therefore, the best God can do is to separate that from himself. There's no way to kill it, okay? And I went with that for a long time, and perhaps there's truth to that. I do think that we can find a better solution, a better answer to the whole question of why doesn't God destroy the devil. Maybe a better question would be, why is the devil still with us? And to understand that, let's lay just a little bit of groundwork. If we go to Colossians chapter 1, verse 16, we will find out that all things were created by Christ. He was there in the beginning, John 1:1. He was there in the beginning. All things were created by him and through him and for him, including all these powers and dominions and principalities, it says. Colossians 1:16. I will post that. So God created these spirits, these powers, these principalities, the devil included. If we go to our creation story in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, we will find that at the conclusion of the creation week, everything was good. Most people know that. Everything was good. And on the seventh day, he rested. That's the start of chapter 2. Everything was good. Let's talk about that for just a second. We were in God's perfect garden. He planted this garden. God planted Eden. That's what Genesis chapter 2 says. God planted a garden in Eden, and he placed the man in the garden. Everything was good, including what was in the garden. What was in the garden? Well, we had two trees. One was the tree of life, and the other was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we know that guy was not good to eat from. And yet, God still called it good that it was there. It was part of his garden. And there were reasons in the garden to have dominion. Remember, that was one of the commands by God to Adam and Eve, is have dominion over this garden. If you know anything about gardening, and I know some about gardening, I'm not good at it, but I know this. Gardens require dominion. They require a lot of dominion. Weeds happen. If that's not a bumper sticker, it needs to be. Weeds happen. And when they happen, you have to remove them. You have to be careful about how and when you remove them, right? That's like the parable of the tares, right? You remember that one, where if you rip the weeds up at the wrong time, you rip the food up, the vines and the plants that you planted with them, and you've got a mess. So they can be destructive. They require dominion. There are things in this perfect utopia that require dominion. including things that you and I might look at each other and say, that's not good. See that weed? That's not good. But we're in God's perfect dominion, his perfect garden, his perfect utopia, where there are things that require my care and his care. We co-labor in these things, including dominion over the animals. And out of all the animals that most needed dominion were these serpents. That's interesting, isn't it? That the serpent was in the garden and God called it good. What basis do we have to think that that was really the case? Well, let's take another look. If we go to the book of Numbers, in chapter 21, we will find that the Israelites were out in the desert. They were in a bad place mentally. Things had not gone their way in their own mind. God had furnished their every need, but they were grumbling and mumbling, and just a bad scene for them. And the writer, being Moses, wrote that God sent fiery serpents among them. Now, whether God actually sent the fiery serpents among them, or there were just fiery serpents among them, that is debatable by Scripture, but there were the serpents. And what did the people cry out? They said, God, take these serpents from us. Did God take the serpents from them? No. Why? Because he gave them a way to have dominion over the serpent. He told Moses, put a bronze serpent on a pole, raise it up. If they look at the bronze serpent, they will live. But the whole purpose, the whole problem in the first place was their fallen mindset, which got them into trouble. They could have had dominion over these serpents. They could have possibly even avoided the serpents altogether. Okay, so God wouldn't take the serpents away. He obviously didn't take the serpent out of the garden either. I'm seeing a pattern. There's yet another story that needs to be told. It's in Matthew 4 at least. It's in other Gospels, but look in Matthew 4. In Matthew 4, we have Jesus, who is the second man Adam, and he's just been baptized, and he's gone into the desert, and he's being tempted by the devil. And he's hungry. He's been fasting for 40 days, just like the Israelites had been in the desert for 40 years. You see, he's going through the same trials that they had gone through. And here comes the serpent again. And did he pray to God to remove that serpent, that devil? No, he didn't. What did he do? He showed us how to have dominion over the devil. Do you see what I'm getting at? God sees his perfect place as a place where his kids can have dominion. His kids are not automatons. They are not just automatically like him. They have a choice to be like him. And it says in John 1, he says, to as many as believe on his name, he has given the authority to be a son of God. Therefore, we have this authority to have the same dominion over the snake that Jesus showed us how to have. Adam had the ability to have the authority over the snake, but he didn't do it. He failed in that. Israel, this next son of God, Israel, my son, he too failed in having dominion over the serpent. So God sends his son, his only begotten son, is the word in the flesh, because the first man, Adam, couldn't do it, and Israel, my son, couldn't do it. So here comes Jesus in the flesh, and he shows us how to have dominion over that serpent. So why doesn't God remove the snake? Why doesn't God just kill the serpent? Because the serpent is there for us to have dominion over. That's why. And if he takes that away, then we have nothing really to exercise our power over. other than a few weeds in the garden, I guess. And who's to say they would even grow without that devil, right? We know that he's there, and he's pesky, and that he's still for us to have dominion over. Because if Christ is in you, you have dominion over that devil. All right? I appreciate your watching this video. I thank you for hanging in there with me. Please subscribe. It helps my channel grow. And share the video with somebody that likes the deeper studies of the Word. Love those. And I'll see you next week. Blessings.